48 hours after the death of a Baltimore County police officer, the three remaining teenage suspects accused in her killing appear in court. Officer Amy Caprio was killed in the line of duty on Monday in Perry Hall. 16-year-old Dante Harris faced a judge yesterday. Prosecutors say he ran down Officer Caprio while the three others burglarized a home. WJZ has a team of reporters covering this tragedy tonight. We begin with Kimberly Eaton live outside District Court in Towson, where the suspects appeared before a judge today. Kimberly?
And two of those suspects waived their right to be present here in court, a judge ordering that they stay in adult lockup. The third teenager is expected back in court tomorrow to hear where he will be pending trial. In the meantime, a judge ordered yesterday that none of those teenagers have any contact with accused cop killer, 16-year-old Dante Harris. 4 teenagers, 4 murder charges. Outside Baltimore County District Court Wednesday afternoon, a state prosecutor promised the list of crimes won't end there.
There are going to be more charges once we go to grand jury.
For now, 15-year-old Daryl Ward, 16-year-old Derek Matthews, and 17-year-old Eugene Genius are charged with first-degree murder and first-degree burglary. Investigators say they were absent accomplices to a deadly crime, and now court documents provide a timeline of what led up to an officer's death Monday afternoon. They say the 3 teens were inside a Perry Hall home robbing the place. Well, outside, 16-year-old Dante Harris told investigators he drove at Officer Amy Caprio.
They are in for everything that occurs as a result of that burglary, including when their co-defendant is outside running over a police officer and killing her.
Harris already faced a judge Tuesday afternoon on his own charge of first-degree murder, already lawyered up for his next court appearance. Defense attorney Warren Brown.
Most people think that he drove this vehicle out there. He did not. These guys drove, he's in the back seat, they get out, he gets into the front seat. And so if he had stayed in that back seat, none of this would have happened.
His co-counsel sharing this photo of his young client backpack on and smiling. But prosecutors say with a lengthy criminal history of stealing cars, the teen has been in and out of juvenile programs more than he has classrooms. A judge deciding that for now, Harris will stay in an adult detention center. Tuesday saying that he is, quote, a one-man crime wave, and I think he's dangerous. And court documents released just today say Harris gave up the other 3 teenagers, who then admitted to investigators that they were inside robbing a house at the time of the murder. And the oldest of them, that 17-year-old, he is the one due back in court tomorrow. Reporting live in Baltimore County, I'm Kimberly Eaton for WJZ.
Kimberly, thank you. We now go live to Rick Ritter, breaking down a new timeline of events surrounding the first teen charged in the case, Dante Harris. Rick.
Well, Vic, Harris was arrested in December, January, February, and March. He was essentially put on house arrest, but then went missing, with officers unable to find him before this murder. This has now reignited the debate over Baltimore's juvenile justice system. 16-year-old Dante Harris is no stranger to the juvenile court system, being arrested 4 times in just 6 months, and even being detained as recent as April 17th. But despite being taken into custody in April, Harris made his way back onto the streets, only to be pinned with the murder of Officer Amy Caprio.
Did the system not work? It sounds like that it could have worked better in this particular case.
Sources handed over this paperwork to WJZ showing Harris was put onto the community detention program on May 10th, ordered to wear a bracelet and to only leave his house for school. Paperwork shows Harris violated that order on May 14th, and a rapid response team tried to locate him at Excel Academy and at home, but were unsuccessful. On May 15th, that team tracked Harris down at his house, holding a violation conference. The very next day, Harris's electronic monitoring notified officers that he left his home yet again, and this time attempts to locate him were unsuccessful. That's when Harris's compliance was deemed poor, and Juvenile Services requested the court bring him in. On May 18th, Harris didn't show up to the hearing, but his mother did. And instead of possibly issuing a bench warrant, the court postponed the matter until May 22nd, which never came, with Officer Caprio being murdered just 1 day before.
This 16-year-old perhaps shouldn't have been out, but now we have a 16 we're treating as an adult because of the gravity of the offense that he has committed.
Now, the Department of Juvenile Services, they were quick to point the finger at the courts and City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. About an hour ago, Mosby spoke addressing the media, saying she's appalled and disheartened that they would put the blame on her. She says the responsibility falls on them and called it a system that is, quote, broken down.
If the court imposes community detention with electronic monitoring over our objection, the knowledge, the issuance, the responsibility of monitoring home detention is then on the Department of Juvenile Services. This incident sheds light on an inherently broken juvenile justice system, which provides a recurring door for troubled youth to graduate to more severe crimes without the opportunity for appropriate rehabilitation and care.
City officials pointing the finger at each other right now. Again, a lot of concern tonight over Harris being arrested 4 times in just 6 months, but yet making his way back on the streets. Vic?
Rick, thank you. Our coverage continues now. Devin Bartolotta spoke with one family who has a special connection to Officer Caprio.
It's not often a family quilt becomes evidence in a crime, but for one Baltimore County girl, it's become that and more since she heard of the news of Officer Amy Caprio.
6 months after it was swiped from a Middle River doorstep, this family quilt is sewn with the patchwork of a fallen officer's police work.
We're very honored, and it's a bittersweet ending to our story. But it makes it all the more special just the same.
Officer Amy Caprio's connection with the Santo Pietro family started in January when a pair of thieves suspected in 40 porch thefts were found and arrested. Baltimore County Police went above and beyond to reunite this quilt among the recovered goods with 8-year-old Emily, motivated by a message from Grandma.
To my shining star Emily, love always.
A viral post on social media connected them and got the quilt home. It was only this week the family discovered the officer credited with solving the crimes and busting the suspects was Officer Caprio, who was killed in the line of duty Monday afternoon.
Officer Caprio is the type of officer that you want to hire. Smart, athletic, energetic.
It inspired Emily to commemorate the officer who rescued that family keepsake.
It's honoring someone who helped you and who helped you a lot to find something that you own.
The common threads that bind a community closer knit now more than ever, forever woven into one very special quilt.
When we look back years from now, maybe even generations from now, she will be very much part of the story, very much.
Emily's mother told me months ago she wanted to put together a photo book of the quilt's journey, but kept putting it off. She said perhaps the universe was telling her its story wasn't over yet. In Parkville, I'm Devin Bartolotta for WJZ.
Stay with WJZ for complete coverage of this tragedy, the suspects, the investigation, and the final goodbyes for Officer Amy Caprio.